The story begins near a peaceful lake, where a young woman called Rin is fishing. Rin used to be a caregiver, but she later picked up acupuncture for her job. Eventually, she was summoned to another world through a Saintess summoning ritual. This lively girl loves the great outdoors, so she is now exploring all the wildlife, scenery, and food this new world has to offer. While fishing, she gets a bite and starts to excitedly reel it in. To her surprise, the fish is actually a giant Oni man. Rin is shocked by his appearance for a little bit, and then she celebrates her catch. However, she wonders if she can survive this fantasy world with all the weird things going around her. For the time being, she dries off the drenched man and lies him inside her tent to cool off. She then starts grilling some trout she caught from the lake. As the aroma of the tasty food wafts into the air, the young man in the tent catches a whiff of it. He instantly wakes up, his body screaming at him for food. Meanwhile, Rin enjoys her fish like it's the most delicious thing in the world. Since the trout she caught is a magical creature, its meat contains a sweet flavor that most normal fish and spices cannot match. After praising her own cooking, Rin wolfs down an entire skewer before realizing that the guy is standing right behind her. The poor guy feels too shy to ask a stranger for food, so Rin offers some on her own. He gladly accepts the food and starts eating, but some of the food gets stuck in his throat. Thankfully, Rin gives him a cup of barley tea to drink the food down. Although the man quickly drinks it to dislodge the food, he falls in love with the refreshing taste of the tea. The barley washes away the fish's oil and flavor, leaving his taste buds refreshed for another round. Rin nods, appreciating his recognition of her cooking choices. She asks him if he's ready to try another batch of fish, so he nods and starts eating. Rin notices that her grill is now empty, so she puts another chunk of fish to cook on it. Once both of them finish eating, the young man thanks Rin for her help and introduces himself as Vil. He explains that he's an adventurer from the town of Elridge. Rin wonders how Vil ended up in the river, so he explains that he got hurt on a solo quest. A little while ago, he was bathing near a river when some monsters stole all his belongings. Although Vil was able to recover his equipment, the monster had already eaten his emergency food. Angered by this, he tried to climb up a tree to grab some fruit. Unfortunately, he lost his balance and fell into a river before washing up in the lake. Surprised by his carelessness, Rin wonders how he survived the water. Vil reveals that his species is Draghul, which is known for being tough. Unfortunately, the Draghul cannot live on an empty stomach, so they sometimes make stupid decisions for the sake of food. Rin laughs at his joke, but Vil wonders why she's being so carefree around him. He reminds her that she's trusting a completely random man in the middle of nowhere. Vil thinks that she's being too careless, and Rin agrees with his concerns. However, she explains that she has a skill that helps her detect a person's trustworthiness. In addition, she thinks that he is a good person in general. Vil is surprised how she made that deduction even though they've just met. Rin reveals that she first interacted with him when she pulled him out of the lake. As she dragged him back to her tent, he woke up for a second and noticed that her clothes got wet and dirty. To help her, he cast a magic spell that quickly dried her off before he passed out again. After seeing his concern, Rin decided that he was a good person. Vil is shocked that she began trusting him so easily, but Rin ignores it and asks him how he can use magic. Feeling embarrassed by her eager gaze, he acts like it's normal for the people of his world to know small magic spells. Hearing this, Rin reveals that she's from another world, so she's very interested in all magic spells. Vil doesn't understand how she came here from another world, so she tells him about the Saintess summoning. Vil recalls an old legend. His grandfather once told him that the Saintess was a legendary heroine summoned from another world, destined to defeat all the monsters and bring peace to their world. Of course, both of them think that it's just a grand myth. In reality, Rin was simply going about her day back on Earth when a random pit appeared beneath her feet. When she fell into the pit, she entered a royal palace in the New World, where the mages had summoned her. Aside from Rin, there was another high school girl who was summoned from Earth. A prince-looking guy immediately fell for the other girl's beauty and called her the legendary Saintess. Then, he screamed at Rin for having a worthless skill, and an imperial mage used a spell to teleport her to this lake. After she was teleported, Rin used the new skills she had gotten upon entering the New World to fish and survive until she met Vil. Vil feels angry that the prince coldly threw her out into the wilderness after forcefully summoning her from another world. Rin doesn't care too much, so Vil takes a look at her equipment. He admits admits that her fancy camping gear definitely looks otherworldly, which pleases Rin. Vil then wonders if she's feeling okay since she got wrenched away from her homeland and family. Rin smiles, pleased by his concern. Although she would normally be very worried in an unfamiliar environment, she has gained a new skill called survival in the new world. This skill allows her to adapt to any environment she's in and helps her stay physically and mentally calm. Also, the survival skill allows her to detect danger, so Rin feels quite relaxed in this unfamiliar environment. Hearing this, Vil is shocked, since her ability is a godsend for adventurers. He wonders why the prince thought it was worthless, so Rin thinks he probably expected something flashy for the legendary Saintess. Then, she also points out that she has a more shocking skill. Before Rin can display it, Vil's stomach growls from hunger, so he requests some more food from her. Vil is surprised that she can cook, but Rin claims that she's only a hobby chef. Then, she wonders if she should reveal her entire kitchen to him. Since Vil has been trustworthy so far, she decides to show him. After raising her hand, she chants a command, which causes an entire van to appear out of thin air. Rin explains that her special skill keeps the van hidden unless she decides to show it to someone she trusts. She then enters the van's door, which contains a strange dimensional portal. Vil follows her into the portal and is speechless to see an entire living space inside. Unable to process this insane sight, he quickly leaves the van, thinking it's some kind of black magic. He then enters it again, but feels just as shocked as before. Rin explains that the van uses a spatial magic technique, giving it an infinite storage space for whatever she wants. She also shows him a fridge stocked with food, explaining that it magically restocks whatever she takes from it. Vil wonders how the van can produce infinite food, so Rin explains that it converts surrounding mana into usable resources. She explains that aside from the fridge, her sink can also produce infinite water using mana, and her toilet easily disposes of all the waste by converting it into mana as well. Hearing these absurd abilities, Vil points out that her truck is an overpowered fortress. Since their world is filled with practically infinite mana, Rin's truck can literally support an entire family with infinite supplies and storage. She smiles, saying she has no plans of world domination yet. Vil wonders how the royal family could ignore her op spell. Rin tells him that the van can only be used outdoors, so they probably didn't detect it. Then, she gets up to prepare dinner. Vil doesn't know how to cook, so he goes out to scout their surroundings for any monsters. Later, Vil returns from his patrol with some meat from an Al Mirage monster. Rin recalls seeing one before, feeling surprised that it has edible meat. She thanks him for the help, so Vil smiles in return. Although Rin instantly gets rizzed by him, she recovers from her shock and serves dinner. Since she made a full table of complicated recipes from Earth, Vil thinks he's being treated to a gourmet feast. He wonders if it's okay to eat such luxurious food for free, so Rin encourages him to go ahead. Both of them sit down and begin eating, and Rin starts with a risotto. She enjoys the rice dish made with milk trout, then moves on to the other dishes made with the Al Mirage meat. Meanwhile, Vil starts trembling after taking just one bite. Rin wonders if he dislikes the food, but Vil is simply too shocked to process the food's amazing flavor. Once he recovers, he wolfs down all the food and asks Rin for seconds. After dinner, Vil asks Rin if she was a chef in her previous world. She reminds him that she was just a hobby chef. However, he thinks she should be proud of herself. In his world, people eat simpler food, so most of them can't make the incredible dishes she whips up so effortlessly. He asks Rin what she plans to do after getting out of the wilderness, so she admits that she doesn't have a clue yet. With her survival skills, she doesn't mind hanging out in the outdoors while figuring out a plan. Vil reminds her that she can't get into any towns without an ID. His words bring her back to reality, and she realizes she can't go wandering around forever. Vil asks if she wants to join his party. He explains that all of his party members are horrible cooks, so they get depressed anytime they need to eat outdoors, with a dedicated chef on their side. He thinks his entire party will receive a huge boost in morale and performance. After making his offer, Vil leaves, and Rin goes to bed in her van. She thinks about his words and the way he said them with such intensity, and her maiden heart starts beating faster. Vil also reassured her that his party has both men and women, so she wouldn't have to worry about getting harassed. Knowing she has nowhere else to go, Rin Rin decides to accept his offer the next day. Vil thanks her for her trust and suggests going back to his hometown. However, Rin asks him for some time to gather herbs in the wilderness. She explains that the nearby forests contain valuable parsley, so Vil agrees to help her gather it. On their way, she asks him what his party is like. Vil explains that his party is called Smorgasbord, and they have a magic and alchemy specialist called Ed. Aside from him, they have Arya, who is an arachne capable of wielding spider webs. Lastly, their final member is an elf priest called Zenon. As Rin hears all these names and races, she imagines an idealized fantasy version of these people. In the middle of her excitement, she detects some juicy berries nearby with her survival skill. She rushes to pick them, but a flock of crows suddenly flies out from the berry tree. With her guard lowered, Rin fails to realize in time that these crows are dangerous monsters. As the birds rush towards her, she is unable to react in time. Thankfully, Vil protects her and defeats the crows with a single slash of his sword. Rin is too stunned to react at first, but then she quickly thanks Vil and apologizes for giving him trouble with her carelessness. He smiles, reassuring her that his party will take good care of her from now on. While Rin struggles to recover from his blinding charisma, Vil points her to some loot dropped by the defeated monsters. They gather the loot and grab Rin's spices before getting in her van to drive to town. Vil is surprised the giant metal van can move so quickly. He points out that at their current speed, they can reach his hometown in just 3 hours, far surpassing the speed of even the fastest carriages in their world. Rin is also concerned because her van has a masking function, meaning people cannot detect it, so she worries about accidentally hitting someone. Vil explains that there's a shortcut to town through the mountains. Rin takes the shortcut since her van is built for outdoor driving. Suddenly, she stops as her survival skill alerts her to a monster up ahead. In front of them, a massive monster called a firebear steps out and roars loudly. Vil is surprised, since the firebear is a dangerous monster usually absent from these parts. Suddenly, a young woman captures the bear with silk threads, but it easily breaks free. Nearby, a red-headed man screams at the bear for hurting his wife. Watching both of them from a distance, an elven man teases the man for being so overprotective, since the bear only broke his wife's silk threads. Vil recognizes these 3 people as Arya, Ed, and Zenon. Rin feels worried about his teammates, but Vil confidently steps out of the van, ready to show her what his party is made of. He steps in and forces the bear off. Zenon smiles, pleased by his teammates' sudden arrival. Ed and Arya also smile, happy to see him back. Unfortunately, they don't get time for a cheerful reunion with the furious firebear staring right at them. As Vil reminds everyone to get ready for the attack, Rin watches the standoff from the safety of her van, excited to see how a real adventurer party fights. The bear makes the first move, releasing several fireballs towards Ed. He easily blocks them with an ice wall spell, then starts taunting the bear. Suddenly, he realizes that one of the bear's attacks caused a massive tree to fly down at him. Although Ed has no time to react, Arya breaks the tree with her spider webs. She scolds him for getting cocky, but Ed just enjoys receiving his wife's attention. Watching the couple fight, Zenon knows that Ed will keep fooling around to score more points with Arya, so he tells Vil to get serious and finish the bear off. He nods and lunges towards the bear, slicing it in half with just one slash. Vil thinks the bear died too easily, and Zenon also knows that Ed was fooling around with his spells, so nobody was in real danger. Suddenly, Ed comes over, his voice panicked as if it's an emergency. He shows Arya to Zenon, explaining that she got a minor scratch from the fight, while Ed thinks even the tiniest scratch on his precious wife's body is the end of the world. Zenon sighs at his cringeworthy attitude. Still, he casts a healing spell to remove the scratch. Once everyone has calmed down, Vil asks his party why they were hanging out in this area. They explain that they were simply looking to gather resources. On their way, they encountered a rookie party struggling to handle the powerful firebear, so they stopped by to defeat it. Vil nods, but he points out that monsters so strong should not be wandering a beginner area. Zenon agrees, suggesting that they report this unusual encounter to the Adventurers Guild. Ed asks Vil how he found them, so he calls Rin over. Out of nowhere, she pops out of her camper van. Although Vil can see the camper, the rest of his party members are not authorized by Rin's camping skill, so her van everyone is completely invisible to them. Because of this, they literally see her jumping out into reality. Rin doesn't realize how shocking her entrance was. Instead, she starts fangirling over all of the adventurers and their skills. Confused, they all ask Vil who she is and how she appeared out of thin air. Vil ignores their last question and explains that Rin is a friend who has agreed to be their porter and cook. Hearing this, all of them are shocked, since good food is the biggest luxury in the world for them. Excited, Arya holds Rin's hand and asks if she really can make good food. While she is excited for a different reason, Rin feels nervous being around such a beautiful woman. Ed also steps in, wondering if Arya can cook meat. She nods, so Zenon thanks God that they've finally found their salvation. Seeing everyone's reactions, Vil starts laughing and asks Rin if she finally understands the value of a real chef in their world. She laughs nervously, then offers to make a meal for everyone since they're all so excited. She wonders what to make, then decides to cook some of the meat she got from the Dark Crows. Hearing the sound of meat, the malnourished party members all start foaming at the mouth. Rin enters her van to prepare the ingredients and takes out the crow meat. Back when she was ambushed, she didn't pay too much attention, but her survival skills told her that the dangerous birds had delicious meat. Now, with the tender meat in front of her, she agrees with the skill and looks forward to the final result. She decides to add soy sauce, cumin, sugar, and coriander to make a simple teriyaki-flavored meat skewer. After adding the seasoning, she brings the meat out of her van to cook on the grill. As she puts the meat chunks on a skewer, she notices everyone else staring at her. Rin feels confused, so Vil explains that the other party members still can't see her camper van, so it looks like she's warping in and out of reality each time she goes inside it. Rin finally understands and wonders if she should authorize the rest of the gang to see her van. However, Vil tells her to keep it a secret just a little while longer to continue teasing them. After some time, the first meat skewers are ready on the grill. Although Rin loves this simple skewer recipe, she feels nervous, wondering if these otherworldly party members will like it as well. She is completely unaware that this simple skewer looks like a 5-star meal to these poor beggars who can barely cook charcoal at most. Finally, the food is served and everyone falls in love with it the moment they take a bite. Watching them eat, even Rin feels surprised by how much they like her food. Feeling pleased, she smiles and tells them to eat as much as they want. Afterward, she asks them how the food tasted. As everyone remains silent, Arya is the first to walk towards Rin. Suddenly, she pulls her into a hug and professes her eternal love towards her. Wrapped in the pretty lady's arms, Rin feels like she's going to melt. Seeing his wife so close to her, Ed gets jealous and pushes her away. Then, he also starts fawning over her amazing food. Zenon also praises Rin's cooking, so she accepts his praise and hopes they'll enjoy the rest of her food from now on. Once everyone is settled, Vil thinks it's time to head home to Elridge. To begin their journey, Rin authorizes the rest of the party to see her van. Seeing the strange metal box pop out of thin air, they are once again left speechless. Rin smiles and welcomes them inside. Soon, they start moving towards the city. As the other party members sit in the car, they feel fascinated by its incredible speed. After learning that it runs on mana, Ed thinks it must require a large amount of powerful magic formations just to sustain the car's fuel consumption. Hearing how complex her technology is, Rin feels glad that she has kept it hidden from most people. Vil nods, but he admits that he has reported her Saintess summoning to the Adventurers Guild. He explains that the Saintess summoning could put his country at risk, so Rin wonders what he means. Vil reveals that they're currently in a country called Riesfeld. Their country is a peaceful island nation, so they never needed to summon a Saintess to defeat surrounding monsters. Long ago, in their world, the human race was extremely dominant to the point of discriminating against all other races. To combat this, the other races banded together and escaped to this island country. Aside from the non-humans who emigrated, many kind humans, who believe in peace and equity, also joined their nation. The native non-humans happily welcomed the good humans, and over time, the island nation started thriving and became self-sufficient. Unfortunately, because of their past bad blood with the outsider humans, citizens of Riesfeld still remain wary of them to prevent any Saintesses with ill intentions from entering their nation. Vil reported Rin's appearance to the Elridge Guild Master, since Elridge is the country's harbor city. After hearing this, Rin doesn't feel threatened since she trusts Vil. Instead, she gets excited to experience exotic Elragian seafood. Vil laughs at her reaction, then points out that they have already reached the city. As Rin looks ahead, she marvels at the size of the giant city walls. Then, she parks her van in a safe spot and lets everyone step outside. They enter the city on foot, where Rin starts beaming at the fantasy atmosphere. Vil tells everyone that he'll help Rin register at the guild, so Zenon decides to make preparations to welcome her into their home. Not wanting to lose their precious cook to another party, Ed warns Vil to keep a close eye on Rin. Arya hugs her, wishing her a safe journey, which only causes her husband to turn feral from jealousy. Later, in the Adventurers Guild, a kobold receptionist, Sheila, greets both Vil and Rin. Rin immediately melts at her cuteness, wondering what kind of creature she is. Vil explains that he's here to register a new party member, so Sheila brings out a registration form. Then, she notices Rin fuming from cuteness overload. Vil tells Rin to behave, since Sheila is a grown adult, but the Sheila doesn't mind being called cute. Afterward, Sheila stamps Rin's form, declaring her an official member of Team Smorgasbord. Reading the text on the form, Rin learns that her Japanese writing automatically turns into the world's native language. She can also read the native language, but it makes her feel strange. Sheila congratulates Rin and wishes her good luck. Vil nods before taking Rin to meet the guild master, Tori. As they sit down, Rin formally introduces herself and asks for his guidance. Seeing her respectful behavior, Tori is unable to believe that Vil actually found a normal person. Vil scoffs, saying that he verified Rin's background before recruiting her, so he shouldn't doubt her identity. Tori apologizes for his words, saying he didn't mean any harm. Then, he returns Rin's greeting. Earlier, Vil had sent Tori an emergency message, so he thought something bad had happened. Now, faced with the innocent Rin, he doesn't think that the harmless Saintess from a fairy tale was worth the anxiety. He asks Rin how she entered this world, so she recounts her entire story. Although she claims that she was summoned from another world, Tori doesn't believe it at first. He asks to check Rin's status to see her special skill, but Vil warns him to stay away. Tori reassures him that he doesn't have any bad intentions, so Rin agrees to show him as long as he doesn't learn any private information about her. He smiles, explaining that most status magic is not nearly advanced enough to detect everything about a person. Hearing this, Rin is surprised, since her survival skill is capable of detecting even a person's trustworthiness. Now, she feels a little safer after learning that other people can't just X-ray her abilities and discover her secrets. Soon, Tori finishes scanning her skills. He explains that she has the Outlander class, which is given to people from outside their world. According to legends, Outlanders can inherit a special class alongside a random extra skill. Hearing this, Rin finally understands that her special class is Traveler, and Campy the Van is her special skill. However, Vil feels dissatisfied with Tori's explanation. He wonders why he's so skeptical of his abilities, so Tori reminds him that the Saintess summoning is still an unconfirmed legend. Then, Vil wonders why the foreign humans would resort to summoning a Saintess. He wonders if they're truly facing an incredible crisis that requires overpowered skills. Tori reveals that he has not received any news of a global crisis, so it's unclear what the human kingdom's motives are. However, he thinks that Vil's earlier encounter with the fire bear might be a clue. Usually, monsters never appear in their beginner areas, so perhaps this phenomenon is related to the crisis faced by the humans. Also, Tori notes that the fire bear seemed much weaker than usual to Vil's party. All of these strange signs feel suspicious, so he tells Vil to tighten security around Elridge with his party. After thinking about it, Vil agrees to do it for the sake of everyone's security, realizing that she joined a prestigious party worthy of the guild master's attention. Rin feels happy. Later, they return to Smorgasbord's main home, although everyone tries to give Rin a warm welcome. Their growling stomachs ruin the moment. Rin smiles, more than happy to cook them another nice dinner. This time, she goes way beyond the simple meat skewers. She sautés mushrooms, cooks rice in a rice cooker, and marinades a generous amount of meat in a special spice blend. In the end, she makes a delicious mushroom and rice meat dish, some creamy omelets, and a big serving of stir-fried meat. Rin starts to explain all her dishes to the waiting foodies, but they all remain silent, staring at the food. To these simple folk, even her creamy omelet looks like it was made by Gordon Ramsay himself. Itching to dig in, they ask Rin for permission to eat. She immediately allows them to do so they all start eating. Every person at the table instantly ascends to heaven from the incredible taste. Vil realizes that the stir stir fry would taste even better paired with some rice, so Ed gets ready to fetch a bag on the spot. Arya and Zenon also prepare to assist with the food, so Rin asks them to calm down. She reminds them that there's lots of food currently left, so they should eat it first before fetching more. They all agree to finish it first, so she smiles and watches them eat away. The next day, Rin wakes up in her new bed. Although she was expecting to have trouble falling asleep in a new world, she realizes that she doesn't miss her old life at all. With a safe, clean home, a great view outside her window, and companions she can trust, she's ready to begin a new life as an adventurer. Later, after having breakfast, everyone sits down to discuss their next mission. As the group leader, Vil explains that they'll patrol the surroundings of Elridge City. To start, he wants to investigate the seaside area. He asks the rest of the team for their input. While Rin listens carefully, Ed chimes in, saying that they should get a bunch of seafood along the way. Zenon and Arian also agree, so Vil decides that the seaside will be their next target. Hearing this, Rin is completely flabbergasted, pointing out that it's a serious mission, not a picnic. She also gets mad that everyone is already thinking about lunch, even though she just made them a lovely breakfast. Arya tells her that Rin's breakfast was too good, so she can't wait to have her lunch as well. Then, someone knocks on their door. It's Rento, a cat beastman. Ed recognizes Rento as a member of the rookie party they saved from the fire bear earlier. Rento smiles, wanting to thank Team Smorgasbord for saving everyone's lives. Vil doesn't think too much of it. He tells Rento that it's his duty to support younger rookies and asks him to do the same once he becomes stronger. Hearing these inspirational words from his idol, Rento's eyes shine with admiration. Rin is also delighted by his reaction, so she introduces herself as well. She learns that Rento grew up in a church orphanage and he became an adventurer to support himself. Hearing this, Rin feels bad for him and the other orphans, so she quickly searches for something. Then, she brings out a batch of magic blueberry cookies and tells Rento to share them in the orphanage. After he thanks her and leaves, the rest of the team start glaring daggers at Rin. Clearly, they're all upset that she gave him a delicious dessert without giving them any. Rin hastily explains that she kept another batch of blueberry cookies for the team, so they finally calm down. Afterward, she starts driving them all in her camper to the seaside. Along the way, Arya, Ed, and Zenon happily chow on their share of blueberry cookies. Unfortunately, because their team doesn't have a port entry permit, Rin has to drive the long way to reach the sea. She doesn't mind this, saying that it's her job to transport the team wherever they need to go. Thanks to her van's speed, they quickly reach the beach. There, Ed gets excited to go on a date with his wife, so Zenon reminds him to actually perform his mission as well. Then, Vil also draws his sword as he prepares to head out. Rin is surprised that his sword can appear at will, so Vil explains that his weapon is registered through a special magic contract. Although magical weapons are convenient to carry, they're very expensive, so most adventurers don't have access to them. Hearing this, Rin understands that storage must be quite expensive in this new world. Without any bottomless bags to store items, her infinite storage van must be an extremely valuable ability here. Soon, the party heads out. Instead of gathering intel, they just go on a fishing trip. Meanwhile, Rin prepares their lunch in the camper. This time, she chops up a bunch of vegetables to balance out their meal. Watching her prepare the ingredients, Arya gets depressed since she hates veggies. Rin tells her that vegetables help her body with valuable micronutrients, but clearly, Arya doesn't care. She gives her a giant fish caught at sea, which Rin accepts as the main ingredient for her dish. She starts peeling the scales off the fish, planning to make a delicious fried dish with. Smiling deviously, Arya scoots closer to her. Then, she teasingly asks Rin if she has a person she likes. Hearing this, Rin is obviously flustered, but as Arya smiles sweetly at her, her defenses completely melt. She asks Rin if she doesn't like Vil, so she shakes her head. However, Rin makes it clear that she doesn't know Vil well enough to be in love with him yet. Disappointed by her response, Arya wonders how to tease her further. Suddenly, Rin flips the tables on her and asks her how she met Ed. This causes Arya to lose all her earlier confidence, and she starts blushing like a maiden. Seeing her cute reaction, Rin gets bolder and starts teasing her even more. Just then, Ed and the others return from their fishing trip, and they find Arya blushing in shame. She tells Ed that Rin cruelly humiliated her, which causes him to misunderstand the situation. Before Ed can skin her alive, Rin quickly explains that she just asked Arya about her first meeting with him. Hearing this, this, he realizes that his wife is getting extra embarrassed over a small story. Then, he summons a large water cube filled with live squid. Rin is excited to see this, and she immediately starts calculating all the dishes she can make. Everyone else is surprised, since they usually don't eat squid. However, because of Rin's amazing cooking talent, they decide to trust her judgment. Afterward, Rin serves lunch, eager to see their reactions to the new dish. Unfortunately, the rest of the party seems disappointed to have veggies on their plates. Rin reassures them that the vegetables taste good, so Arya is the first to take a bite. She quickly falls in love with the food, so the others dig in as well. Soon, they all ascend to heaven from the taste of well-cooked eggplant parmesan. They also enjoy Rin's tomato rice, shocked that a simple veggie dish could be so good. Finally, Rin reminds them that she made a meat dish with sea bass as well. After finishing her lunch, Arya asks Rin if she wants any special ingredients for her future cooking projects. Rin suggests getting some shellfish and other fish, so everyone gets ready for another round of beach fishing. Suddenly, their festive mood gets interrupted as some nearby locals ask for help. After following the locals, they find a beached killer whale struggling on the sand. Rin is surprised that this world has orcas, but Vil explains that this fish is called a prankster. In this world, pranksters are mischievous fish that like to tease adventurers at the beach. Noticing their presence, the prankster looks back and speaks telepathically to Rin. She explains that there's a good reason why she's beached on the sand. Earlier, she tried to prank some adventurers on the beach by jumping on them. However, she forgot that there was no way back to the sea and ended up stranded in a ditch. Rin realizes that this troublemaker literally dug her own grave. The prankster doesn't get offended by her response. Instead, she teases Rin and offers to reward her if she helps her return to the sea. Hearing this, Arya reveals that pranksters are also known as the bearers of good fortune at sea. Even though they love pranking adventurers, they give them a generous reward once their request is fulfilled. Although everyone here wants the prankster's reward as well, none of them can move the massive whale even an inch. They ask Vil and his team for help. Unwilling to let the animal die, Vil agrees. Unfortunately, even with him and the rest of the team's smorgasbord, they're unable to push the whale. Watching them work, Rin realizes just how hot the beach is. She notes that the hot sun is causing the orca to hurt. She quickly asks Ed if he can make another water cube with his magic. He nods, so she asks him to create a cube above the prankster to cool her down. After Ed creates the water cube, it bursts into a shower of cool water on top of the prankster. She sighs in relief, but only gives Rin a half-hearted compliment as thanks for her life-saving help. Rin wonders if she should just cook up the dying whale, which leaves her shocked. Meanwhile, the men give up on pushing the whale, clearly exhausted. Rin wonders if Ed can make a giant water cube to transport the prankster with magic. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough mana to create a cube so big. Then, Rin thinks about creating a water canal to help the prankster move back to the sea. Ed nods, explaining that he can create the water tunnels in the sand with his earth magic. Suddenly, the water starts roaring in front of them. From the water, a massive octopus tries to attack the prankster with its tentacles. Thankfully, Xenon shields her from the attack. After its failed attack, the monster shows its full body. Vil identifies it as a baby Pirapu, a ferocious monster that rarely appears near the coast. He wonders why this unusual monster has appeared at the beach, so the prankster thinks her delectable skin and flesh must have attracted it. Hearing her conceited words, Rin thinks that his prideful fish really deserves to drown. Nearby, Vil and the other party members get prepared to fight. To support them, Rin analyzes the Pirapu with her survival skill, which reveals a weak spot between its eyes. The survival skill also reveals that the octopus's tender meat can be used to make incredible seafood. Rin quickly informs Vil about this weak spot. To encourage him further, she also offers to make Pirapu seafood from the monster's meat. Hearing this, Vil and the others get motivated even more. Behind them, the other locals start digging canals in the sand. Rin climbs on top of the prankster to cool it down, but the whale only mocks her sincere efforts. Meanwhile, Xenon and the others wonder if they can even eat the disgusting octopus monster. In the end, they decide to trust Rin's judgment. Arya traps the monster with her spider webs, making an opening for Vil. Thinking about the delicious surprise dish awaiting him, he prepares to deliver the final blow. Behind him, Rin and the other locals work hard to get the whale back back to sea. Seeing everyone work so hard for her, the prankster thinks she's a celebrity. Rin bursts her bubble, pointing out that they just want the reward from her. Still, the whale keeps singing her own praises, so Rin threatens to cut it up into fish fillets. Then, after lots of digging, the locals finally create a canal through the sand. Finally, they all work hard and help the whale slide back into the sea. As the prankster jumps back into its home, Vil delivers the finishing blow to the trapped monster. Before leaving, the prankster whale thanks everyone for their help. As a reward, she slams the water with her heavy body, causing a massive amount of shrimp, crab, and other seafood to fly out towards the beach. Pleasantly surprised, everyone begins collecting the fresh seafood. However, the prankster gives Rin a special pendant as a reward for all her personal efforts. After wishing her good luck in this new world, she finally disappears into the sea. Then, everyone shows Rin all the seafood they caught. Vil also brings over the meat dropped by the Pirapu monster. Seeing all the crab, shrimp, and shellfish, Rin thinks they can have a huge celebration with a giant seafood barbecue. Later, she cooks various dishes with all the different seafood meat. As she tells everyone to dig in, Vil stops them for a moment. He points out that today's success was all thanks to Rin, due to her quick planning and survival skills. Although it was her first time going on a quest, she has made it a massive success. Each party member thanks her for the help, looking forward to their future quests together. Then, they all dig into the seafood, excited for more exotic dishes cooked by Rin's hand. As the party celebrates, a cave opens at a nearby location. Inside the cave, a strange feline monster opens its eyes, ready to unleash carnage on the world. After the barbecue dinner, the party heads back home to rest. The next day, Rin smiles by the window, eager to experience more joys in this world. Behind her, Vil and the others have gathered for their daily meeting. Unfortunately, Arya is still too tired from last night, so she stays sleeping on Ed's lap. To wake her up, he teasingly asks if she wants to skip Rin's delicious breakfast. At the mention of skipping some heavenly food, Arya's exhausted body suddenly regains energy, and she sits up perfectly straight. Even though they spent last night stuffing themselves on Rin's delicious seafood, none of them want to miss a single one of her meals. Hearing this, Rin feels happy and offers to make a good breakfast before they head out. Vil explains that he'll visit the guild after breakfast to give them the intel they found at the seaside. Suddenly, Sheila bursts into their house with a panicked expression. Usually, she never does something so bold, so Vil realizes that something serious has happened. Sheila explains that their town is currently going through an emergency. Shocked, everyone quickly follows her to the Adventurers Guild. There, Tori explains to the party that a random dungeon has popped up near the city for no reason. He reveals that there were no mana fluctuations in the area before the dungeon's appearance, so its appearance could be a huge risk. Rin is confused, not knowing why a dungeon appearing out of thin air would be a problem, since she assumed that they randomly pop up in the world. To clear her doubts, Sheila admits that it's not entirely unheard of for a dungeon to appear randomly. However, when a dungeon does appear, it usually shows some signs of appearing in the area before actually spawning. Sometimes, a dungeon might spawn in a place where a tragedy occurred, forming from the resentment of the people who died there. Other times, when dungeons naturally appear, the flow of mana in the area is disturbed before they open. However, with this new dungeon, it showed absolutely zero signs of mana changes. Because this dungeon is so unpredictable, it's possible that the monsters inside it might not follow usual dungeon rules. In that case, the entire town of Elridge could face a siege from the rogue dungeon monsters. Because of this, the Elridge City Guild's senior adventurers and staff are all working overtime to deal with the situation. Sheila reveals that this emergency is a secret from the public, but they still need to resolve it behind closed doors. To do this, Tori wants Vil's party to explore the dungeon, since he trusts their abilities to survive in an unknown environment. Hearing his words, Vil thinks about all the things he has recently experienced, like the weak fire bear, which appeared in a random area, and the baby Pirapu monster that was never seen near the coast before. Thinking that all these events might be related to this new dungeon, he agrees to explore it. Both Tori and Sheila thank him, so Vil turns to Rin to make preparations. He explains that the dungeon trip might be a long one, so she should stockpile food and other supplies before leaving. At his advice, Rin gets up to go shopping. Suddenly, Sheila joins her, claiming that she'll help her get the best deals in town. In reality, she just wants a break from all the stressful paperwork in the guild. Tori yells at her to to stay behind, but she quickly pushes Rin and runs off with her. After shopping, Rin meets up with Ed and Aria at the city gate to wait for Vil and Xenon. Aria thinks she looks cute in her new outfit, so Rin grins, explaining that Sheila helped her pick it. She also informs the two that she has already packed all of their essentials in Campy. Suddenly, something glints in Aria's forehead. Rin is surprised, wondering if she is wearing some shiny jewelry. However, Aria explains that the glow actually came from her third eye. She parts her hair, exposing a strange, ruby-shaped eye in the middle of her forehead. Although her third eye doesn't help with normal vision, it allows her to sense subtle changes in her surroundings. Just then, her third eye alerted her that Vil and Xenon were walking towards her from behind. Hearing this, Rin looks behind Aria to check. Sure enough, she finds both of them walking towards the group. Once everyone is ready for the trip, they all head out of the city gate. While walking with everyone, Rin feels an invisible pressure from the guild's request. Although she has already done one quest with her party, it was more like a fishing trip than a serious mission. This time, she feels nervous stepping foot into unexplored territory. Vil notices that she's worried, so he reassures her that they'll be extremely careful to avoid danger as much as possible. At his gentle words, Rin feels a lot better. Then, she prepares to pull out Campy, but unfortunately, Vil explains that they need to walk on foot for this trip. After a little while, they reach the area where the dungeon's entrance was reported. Seeing how little time it took to reach, Rin realizes that the dungeon spawned incredibly close to the city. Now, she finally understands why Tori was so worried about it. At the moment, it appears that there's nothing there. However, that's because the Adventurers Guild placed an illusion spell on the entrance to prevent the common people from discovering it. To remove the illusion, Xenon steps forward and uses a strange magic that reveals the dungeon's real entrance. Before anyone goes inside, Aria goes ahead and uses her spider webs to scout the dungeon's perimeter. As the webs extend from her hands, they reach into the dungeon's depths, mapping out the entire area. Aria notes that the dungeon has quite a wide pathway, so it will require less effort to fully explore. For now, she doesn't detect any monsters inside, so the party is free to head in. Vil arranges himself and Aria to be at the vanguard, while Rin hides behind Ed and Xenon as the porter. Because of her non-combat role, Rin feels guilty, thinking she is dragging the others down. However, they all remind her that her porter skills are incredibly important to the party, so none of them mind her presence. With all their praise and comfort, Rin feels better again. Soon, they all head in as a group. After walking some distance, Vil blocks Rin from moving further. All of the party members take a ready stance as they sense something lurking ahead. Xenon thinks it's a flower lizard, so Vil explains to Rin that it's a monster that camouflages itself as a flower. Soon, the creepy lizard walks into view. Scared, Rin examines it with her survival skill. Though the lizard seems edible, she wonders if anyone would even want to eat its slimy meat. Ed steps forward to take care of the lizard. Suddenly, it jumps at him at blinding speed. Rin flinches in fear, but Ed easily traps the lizard with a cage spell before burning it to ashes. After destroying the poor thing, Ed turns around and brags to Rin as if he did something completely ordinary. Then, Vil picks up the meat dropped by the lizard and gives it to Rin. For now, she decides to store the meat since she doesn't want to cook it yet. Suddenly, her survival skill gives her a yellow alert. Out of nowhere, a baby cat lands on her lap. For a moment, Rin is shocked, wondering what to do with this adorable stranger. Vil quickly tells her to stay away, saying that the cat is a dangerous monster. However, the little cat seems quite friendly with Rin. Ed and the others explain that it's a winged lynx kitten, so Rin is surprised that it's already so big. As the cat nuzzles up to her, Rin can't believe that it's a terrifying monster. Then, the winged lynx starts meowing at her, so she thinks it's hungry. At the moment, the closest food she has is the lizard meat, so she gives it to the lynx. The cat digs in, eating the slimy meat without a problem. Rin was a little worried that the meat would taste bad, but she relaxes after seeing that the winged lynx doesn't care at all. While it eats peacefully, suddenly Rin's survival skill flashes blue instead of yellow. Still, she doesn't understand what it's trying to say. Aria wonders what they should do with the wild cat, so Rin picks it up for now. Seeing how friendly the creature is, she decides to keep it as a pet. The winged lynx's fluffy body reminds Rin of her old pet cat from Earth called Gomamitsu. so she gives it the same name. Hearing the name, Gomamitsu asks Rin if that's really what she's going to be called. Rin nods for a moment, but then she gets shocked after realizing that the baby lynx just spoke to her. For some reason, nobody else can hear the cat talk. Rin wonders what's wrong, so Zenon closely examines the winged lynx. After taking a closer look, he realizes that the lynx has become a named monster. Hearing this, Vil figures that Rin must have accidentally converted it into a named monster by naming it Gomamitsu. Because she gave the cat her name, she has actually become its master. Because of this link, Rin can hear the cat's thoughts while the others can't. Hearing this, Rin wonders if it's normal for people to randomly tame friendly monsters. Vil admits that it's usually not this easy, so Rin wonders if she has done something wrong. Thinking she is causing trouble for the party, she starts apologizing profusely to all of them. Zenon smiles, thinking it's quite impressive to tame such a powerful monster cub. Ed and Arya also agree with him, but Rin keeps thinking that she's making things difficult for the party with her actions. Seeing how worried she is, Vil reassures her that there will be no trouble. After their mission, he promises to get her registered at the guild as an official monster tamer. In reality, none of the party wanted to leave the cute lynx behind, so they don't mind letting it come along. Afterward, they keep exploring and come across a split path. Arya scouts the paths ahead of them with her webs and decides that the right one is safer. As they follow the right path, it opens into a large room with a high ceiling. Inside the large room, Gomamitsu gets excited to fly to the ceiling, so Rin holds her in place. Suddenly, she gets a red alert from her survival skill. Vil can't see the danger, so Rin points in front of them. Arya smiles, already knowing what's up ahead because of her third eye. She explains that it's a floor trap and uses her spider webs to uncover a massive hole in the ground up ahead. In front of Rin's eyes, Arya covers up the hole with her magic. Vil wonders how Rin detected the hole in the first place, so she explains that it's thanks to her survival skill. Even though they just disarmed the trap, Gomamitsu suddenly jumps out of Rin's arms and starts hissing at something in front of them. Seeing this, Vil tells Rin to get in the camper with the cat. She quickly runs off, entering the camper's safety. Then, Zenon casts a veil magic to protect the other party members from the threat. Inside the van, Rin feels worried about the incoming monster. Since everyone is reacting so seriously, Vil warns her not to leave the camper until they've defeated the monster, so she feels even more worried. As they all watch, a cockatrice walks over to them. It's a giant chicken monster, capable of spreading poisonous gas created by the snake head on its tail. Seeing the snake on its tail, Goma screams in terror and backs away. As the monster approaches, it releases a giant blast of poison fog towards the party. At first, Rin gets incredibly worried for the other party members. However, the magic veil easily protects them from the miasma. Without its poison, the intimidating cockatrice simply turns into monster-sized poultry. To deal the finishing blow, Arya steps up and uses her spider webs. She casts the webs in thin horizontal lines, chopping through the live cockatrice like it's a flimsy vegetable. Watching this incredible performance, Rin is so impressed that she forgets how to speak. Then, Goma asks her if the cockatrice is dead, since its tail scared her too much. Despite her earlier fear, she tries to act like she wasn't scared at all, but when Rin mentions the snake, she tears up from terror again. Angered by her teasing, Goma tries to attack her, but Rin catches her and starts teasing her even more. Then, Vil walks into the camper. He gives Rin the chicken meat dropped by the monster. Seeing the premium chicken, Rin gets excited beyond belief. Although she already prepared food for their trip, she decides to make a special dish with this cockatrice meat to celebrate. To make the dish, she asks Vil for some help. He agrees, peeling eggs with her to create a tartar sauce. After the eggs are in, Rin adds some mayonnaise and spices to finish the sauce. Once the sauce is ready, she lets Vil have a taste. With just one taste, he falls at her feet, wondering if she is some kind of evil cooking genius. Rin laughs and goes along with the play, acting like she's some kind of supervillain who kills people with amazing food. Afterward, the other party members return to the van as well. Zenon and Ed discuss that although the dungeon is filled with monsters, they seem to be quite weaker than usual. This situation reminds them of the fire bear and pure poo monsters from earlier, which all died way too easily. Now, they know for sure that this random dungeon is linked with those strange appearances. Hearing their discussion, Rin feels sad that they're all so worried after a victory. Suddenly, her rice cooker beeps, which reminds her to prepare the rest of their food. food. At the mention of food, Goma also gets excited, so Rin promises to feed her as well. Then, she fries the chicken meat and serves it with some veggies and tartar sauce to everyone. As they all taste the saucy chicken, all of them have the same reaction as Vil earlier. For some reason, they all think that Rin must be an evil genius to know how to cook so well. Aside from the tartar sauce's flavor, they also enjoy the veggies, which clear their palate for another taste of the chicken. Even Goma happily eats her veggies after finishing the meat. Seeing this, Arya is encouraged to try her greens as well. As she takes a bite, she feels refreshed by the veggies as well. Goma praises Arya for eating her veggies like a good girl, so everyone starts laughing and joking around. After having their food, the group starts exploring the deeper parts of the dungeon. Eventually, they reach a strange cave that opens up into a massive, sunlit field. Although Rin is surprised by this, the party members explain to her that dungeons are special zones disconnected from reality, so it's normal for them to have completely wild scenery. Still, she finds it incredibly shocking that they just went from a dark cave to a sunny field in just a few minutes. Right now, Rin is hiding in her camper as the group faces a wild ox. Behind the protection of the camper's bulletproof windows, Goma acts all tough, but Rin holds her back to avoid letting her outside. Then, Vil easily kills the ox with one attack. He brings the ox meat inside, which Rin instantly starts preparing for their lunch. Goma asks if the meat is for her, but Rin reminds her that they're going to share it with everyone. For some reason, the wild ox dropped perfectly aged meat, so she doesn't have to butcher it on her own. Hearing this, Zenon tells her that he can butcher the meat for her if she needs help. Rin wonders how he knows how to properly butcher meat. Zenon reminds her that he's a forest elf, so one of his duties is to learn how to hunt and prepare wild meat. Rin understands his explanation, but then she wonders why he can't just cook the meat after all those steps. At this, Vil tells her that Zenon somehow managed to make a perfectly burnt raw steak. Annoyed, Zenon says that Vil has also pulled the same stunt in the past, while Goma thinks that raw meat is perfectly fine to eat. Rin reminds the cat that humans can't eat raw meat safely like her. Hearing this, Vil casually tells her that they used to cut off the burnt parts and eat the raw meat anyway. Horrified, Rin educates him on the dangers of eating raw meat, warning him to never do it again. Both Vil and Zenon start laughing, knowing they won't have to eat like literal dogs because she's with them now. Then, Arya and Ed return after a hunting trip in the dungeon, carrying bags of meat with them. After they lay the meat on a table, Goma starts sniffing it, so Arya catches her before she can take a bite. Rin wonders how they managed to get so much meat in a short time. Happy to hear her concern, Ed explains that all the monsters they fought were extremely weak. Otherwise, they could never have hunted so many. Still, the party feels worried about why these monsters are weaker than usual. With no other option, they continue exploring the dungeon to find answers. After a while of walking in the field, Rin is surprised by how big it is. Even after so much time, it feels as if the field is never ending. Suddenly, Arya points out that the dungeon might be smaller than it looks. Rin is confused by this, so she explains that they might be inside an illusion and a spatial trap. The master of the dungeon has created an illusion trap, which puts their party in a strange surrounding. Meanwhile, they're also using spatial magic, forcing them to walk in a loop back to their starting point. Hearing this, Rin wonders if there's a way to exit the trap. Vil explains that they can easily escape with Arya's sharp senses, but rookie adventurers would have a hard time figuring it out. Then, Zenon asks Arya if she can sense the magic hotspots of the illusion spell. Using her ruby eye, she senses several hotspots and starts leading the party towards one. As they walk towards the hotspot, Vil warns Rin to keep her camper ready in case things go wrong. Then, Goma jumps into her arms to be safe. This causes Rin to step back, which suddenly activates a hidden trap in the floor. Though Rin tries to escape, she gets stopped by the trap's magic barrier. Soon, the party is surrounded by hostile robots. One of the bots instantly attacks Rin, who dodges and rushes inside her van. Inside, she takes deep breaths to calm herself down. Meanwhile, Vin and the others go feral with rage at the scrap metal bots for daring to attack their precious chef. As Rin watches, Zenon tells Vil to focus on the white robot's joints. Then, he tells Arya and Ed Ed to trap the red one with their spider webs and magic. After discussing this strategy, all of them prepare to unleash their wrath. Vil rushes in and chops the white robot apart with his sword, while Arya wraps the red one in a cocoon of silk. Then, Ed fries the trapped robot with devastating lightning magic. Meanwhile, Xenon watches from the side, an angry aura radiating from his body as he supports the party with buff spells. Finally, after the robots are defeated, the party quickly checks on Rin. Although she reassures them that she's fine, everyone clearly feels guilty that she faced danger with them. Seeing their gloomy faces, Rin wonders how to cheer them up. Then, she gets the bright idea of serving them a delicious lunch with the meat they got earlier. At the mention of her delicious food, everyone's mood instantly brightens, so Rin feels relieved. Then, she serves them a massive feast of T-bone steaks and roast beef from the wild ox. Seeing the fatty meat in front of them, everyone rushes to dig in. Even though Rin cooked the tender meat, she retained the moisture inside with her cooking techniques. To peasants like Vil, this amazing cooking technique is no different than magic. On the other hand, Arya enjoys the food so much that she doesn't stop to take a single breath. Everyone starts teasing her, so she gets embarrassed by all the attention. Then, she thanks Rin for making delicious food and professes her undying love for her. Happy with everyone's appreciation, Rin smiles and enjoys her own plate. After finishing lunch, they go back out to destroy all the other magic hotspots. Sometime later, only one hotspot is left. As soon as Vil destroys the second to last one, the dimension around them gets distorted. Rin is surprised to see this, so Ed reminds her that the illusion formation is starting to break down after losing their support. Then, Arya starts leading them to the final magic hotspot. Along the way, Goma gets sleepy in Rin's arms. While Ed wonders how long it'll take to reach the final one, she reveals that it will take an hour on foot. But everyone knows the actual trip will be much longer since they usually encounter teleportation traps along the way. Thinking about this, Rin starts to feel tired. Seeing this, the entire party cheers her up. Arya reassures her that she's got the right location, while Ed thinks they won't encounter any problems along the way either. Still, Vil reminds them to be on guard for any traps or monsters. Hearing everyone's concern, Rin almost feels bad for making them worry. To repay them, she decides to make the best meals ever from now on. Suddenly, a pack of goblins ambushes them. After Rin retreats to her camper, the goblins screech at the party to stun them. After easily withstanding the screeches with magic protection, they kill all the goblins in one move. Once all goblins are dead, the final magic hotspot appears in front of Vil. As soon as he destroys it, the sunny field disappears, and everyone returns to the drafty cave once more. Seeing the giant cave around them, Xenon and the others wonder how much the illusion formation made them walk. Then, Arya notices an ancient staircase in the ground. Rin wonders what this creepy staircase will lead to. Hearing this, Vil tells her that he can't predict the next room, even with all his experience. Ed wonders why this dungeon is rigged with so many traps. Xenon notes that even if the dungeon is filled with traps, the monsters inside are very weak. Because of this, he thinks that the dungeon master is not trying to kill them. Suddenly, Goma lets out a loud sneeze. This startles everyone, but then they finally notice a chilling wind roaring from the underground. Vil reminds everyone to be careful on the way down. At the end of the underground staircase, the party steps out into a massive tundra. While they all process the freezing cold, Arya points to a massive temple in the distance. Vil wonders if they should go there first, but Goma starts shivering from the cold. Rin wonders why she's cold, even though her body feels warm against her. Hearing this, Vil explains that the temperature difference is making the cold feel worse for the poor cat. Nearby, Arya collapses to her knees. Seeing her shiver from the cold, Rin quickly takes her inside her camper. There, she wraps Arya in a blanket, but it's still not enough to warm her up. Worried, Rin checks her hand to see how cold she is. As she feels Arya's fingers, she notes that her hand is freezing. Then, she starts to gently massage her hand using acupuncture techniques. Under her care, Arya starts to feel better. Ed thanks her for the help. Although he knows that Arya is sensitive to cold, he has never seen her struggle like this before. Now, he feels a bit better watching Rin take care of her. Still, Rin herself doesn't feel comfortable with Arya's condition. From her previous life, she knows that insects are usually sensitive to colder temperatures, so she wonders if Arya's spider bloodline is causing her to feel the cold so much. Then, she gets an idea to make a hot compress. Using some mugwort weed she collected earlier, she starts preparing the hot compress. Back on Earth, she used this weed to prepare a special herbal blend called moxa, which was used to help people warm up. For some reason, none of the party members know what she's talking about. Seeing this, Rin realizes that nobody has invented moxa in this world yet. To help them learn, she makes them all process the weeds. First, Ed grinds up the weeds into fine bits. Then, Vil strains out all the useless gunk from the shredded leaves. Then, Rin gathers the soft, fine product on the hot pack and bundles it up. After collecting the leaf ball, Rin mixes it with some rock salt and herbs to finish the hot pack. Then, she heats it up in the microwave and places it around Aria's neck. Soon, the warmth from the hot pack seeps into her body, and Aria's condition returns to normal, seeing his wife back to full health. Ed thanks Rin and starts crying from relief. Then, before they head back out, Rin gives everyone a big cup of hot caramel milk. The rich, creamy milk warms their bodies and lifts their spirits, preparing them for the freezing dungeon outside. Afterward, they continue their journey toward the old temple. Along the way, they encounter many monsters and traps, but keep moving forward. Finally, in the end, they reach the old temple. Standing in front of the massive, ruined building, everyone gets creeped out. Still, they steel their nerves and walk towards the entrance, wondering what's inside. That was episode 5. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen.
I heard that you addicted to them